They did it again. WWE just pulled off the most predictable, laziest booking decision in modern wrestling history, and somehow they expect us to celebrate it. Brock Lesnar, part-timer, special attraction, the man who shows up 15 times a year is now your undisputed WWE champion heading out of WrestleMania 42. While full-time wrestlers grind 300 days a year, Brock waltzes in, hits 3 suplexes and an F5, and walks out with the company's top prize. And you know what the worst part is? WWE thinks we're stupid enough to buy into this garbage all over again. But here's what they don't want you to know about what really happened at WrestleMania 42. Let me paint you the picture of what went down in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. The main event, the Undisputed Championship match. After months of build-up, after watching the champion carry this company on their back week after week, we got exactly what nobody asked for. Brock Lesnar, in typical Brock fashion, dominated a match that should have been a competitive war. 5 German suplexes, 2 F5s, 12 minutes. That's all it took for WWE to completely disrespect their entire full-time roster. Now before the Brock fanboys start flooding the comments, let me ask you something. When was the last time Brock Lesnar actually elevated another wrestler? When was the last time he put someone over in a way that mattered? I'll wait. Drop your answer in the comments because I genuinely cannot remember a single instance in the past 5 years where Brock made someone else's career better instead of just taking their spot. The match itself was classic WWE playing it safe. No risks, no innovation, just the Brock Lesnar greatest hits package we've seen since 2012. The champion came out looking to prove they belonged in the ring with the Beast incarnate. They threw everything they had at him. Signature moves, finishers, near falls that had the crowd on their feet. For a brief moment, it looked like we might actually get the feel-good WrestleMania moment we deserved. But then Paul Heyman did what Paul Heyman always does. A distraction at the perfect moment. The referee's attention diverted for just 3 seconds. And boom, low blow, F5, new champion, 80,000 fans in attendance, millions watching worldwide. And this is the finish WWE creative came up with? A finish we've seen 100 times before? A finish that requires zero creativity and even less respect for the audience's intelligence? Here's what really grinds my gears about this whole situation. WWE has spent the last 2 years trying to convince us that they've changed. New management, new creative direction, fresh matchups, pushing new stars, building for the future. They gave us incredible storylines with younger talent finally getting their moment. We believed them. We bought into the vision. And then WrestleMania 42 happens, and it's like we time traveled back to 2015. Everything they built, everything they promised, thrown out the window the moment Vince's golden boy becomes available for another run. Let's talk numbers for a second because this is where it gets really infuriating. Brock Lesnar's contract reportedly guarantees him somewhere in the neighborhood of multiple millions per appearance. He works maybe 20 dates a year if we're being generous. Meanwhile, your Intercontinental Champion is making a fraction of that while working 300 days, wrestling on Raw, SmackDown, house shows, international tours, and premium live events. They are the ones building storylines. They are the ones creating memorable moments every single week. They are the ones actually connecting with the fans. But when WrestleMania comes around, who gets the main event? Who gets the championship? The part-timer who can't even be bothered to show up for promotional appearances. And don't even get me started on what this means for the championship itself. The Undisputed Championship is supposed to represent the absolute best in this business. It's supposed to be defended regularly. It's supposed to be the prize that every wrestler in that locker room is fighting for. But now it's going to disappear for weeks, maybe months at a time, because Brock's contract doesn't require him to show up every week. So what happens to Raw? What happens to SmackDown? Do we just pretend the champion doesn't exist until WWE decides to book Brock for another appearance? Here's a question for the comments. How many weeks do you think we'll go without seeing the Undisputed Champion on television? Drop your predictions below because based on Brock's history, we might not see him until the next Saudi Arabia show. The ripple effects of this decision are already being felt throughout the roster. Think about all the full-time wrestlers who deserve this spot. Think about the guys and girls who have been busting their tails every single week to make WWE programming worth watching. They just got told in the loudest way possible that their work doesn't matter, that loyalty doesn't matter, that being there for the fans every week doesn't matter. What matters is being a big name that WWE can slap on a poster to sell tickets to casual fans who haven't watched wrestling in 5 years. This isn't about hating Brock Lesnar the performer. Let's be crystal clear about that. Brock is legitimately one of the most gifted athletes to ever step foot in a WWE ring. His amateur wrestling credentials are undeniable. His UFC run proved he's a legitimate fighter. When he's motivated, when he actually cares, he can put on incredible matches. We've seen it. His match with AJ Styles. His matches with Daniel Bryan. When Brock wants to work, he can work. But that's the problem, isn't it? When he wants to. And how often does that actually happen? The real issue here is WWE's complete inability to commit to building new stars when it actually matters. They'll give younger talent the ball during the year, let them have some big moments, build them up, make us believe that this time it's different. But when WrestleMania season rolls around, they panic. They revert to the same old playbook. Bring back the legends. Bring back the part-timers. Bring back the names that sold tickets in 2010 because they don't have faith that their current roster can carry the biggest show of the year. You want to know what message this sends to the locker room? It tells every young wrestler grinding in NXT that no matter how hard they work, no matter how good they get, no matter how much the fans love them, they'll always be second-class citizens compared to the part-timers. It tells them that their ceiling is permanently capped unless they happen to become a star 15 years ago. Let's address the elephant in the room. Some people will argue that Brock draws money, that ratings go up when he appears, that ticket sales spike when his name is on the card. And sure, there might be some truth to that in the short term. But what about the long-term health of the company? What happens when Brock finally retires for good? What happens when all the part-timers from the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression Era are too old to work? If WWE hasn't built new stars that fans genuinely believe in, the whole house of cards collapses. This is exactly what happened in the mid-1990s. WWE relied too heavily on Hulk Hogan and the stars of the 1980s. When they left, there was a massive void that almost destroyed the company. It took the Attitude Era and a generation of new stars to save WWE. And now, 30 years later, they are making the exact same mistake. They are so terrified of taking risks on new talent that they keep running back to the same well over and over again until there's nothing left. Here's another question for you. Name one wrestler whose career was significantly better after feuding with Brock Lesnar in the past 5 years. Seriously, drop names in the comments. I'm genuinely curious if anyone can come up with a solid answer because from where I'm sitting, Brock feuds are where momentum goes to die. The aftermath of WrestleMania 42 is going to be fascinating to watch, and not in a good way. WWE now has to figure out how to book television around a champion who isn't there. They'll probably do what they always do, have Paul Heyman cut promos explaining why Brock doesn't need to defend the title every week. They'll build up contenders who cut passionate promos about wanting their shot. And then weeks will go by with no payoff until WWE decides it's time for Brock to show up again for another premium live event. Meanwhile, the wrestlers who are there every week will fight for the Intercontinental Championship, the United States Championship, and various other titles, and we'll all pretend like those belts matter just as much. But they don't. Not in WWE's eyes. Not when they just told us at their biggest show of the year that the only championship that truly matters should be held by someone who treats wrestling like a part-time hobby. The most frustrating part of this entire situation is that it didn't have to be this way. WrestleMania 42 could have been the moment where WWE proved they truly had changed. Where they showed faith in their current roster. Where they created a new star that could carry the company for the next 5 years. Instead, we got the safe choice. The predictable choice. The choice that makes WWE look like they learned absolutely nothing from their past mistakes. So here we are. Brock Lesnar is your undisputed WWE champion. Again, the title that's supposed to represent the best in this business is now going to be seen once every few weeks if we're lucky. Full-time wrestlers just got told their spot on the card, and WWE expects us to be excited about this. But here's what I want to know from you. Are you actually excited about this? Or are you just as frustrated as I am? Do you think Brock's reign will be different this time? Do you believe WWE will actually book him properly? Or are we in for the same old pattern we've seen a dozen times before? Let me know in the comments. And if you're as angry about this booking decision as I am, share this video. Let WWE know that we're tired of the same old playbook. We deserve better. The roster deserves better. Wrestling deserves better.